Okay, so we're going to show you the process 2 here, part 2 of the video. We are using, what is that, olive oil?
You specified peanut oil, which I did not grow up using, probably because my father was an olive oil freak.
I love olive oil too.
I don't know how much oil. Some people use just a little bit, but if you want to get it crispy, you have to use enough in there.
Right.
And usually, you know, you mess up the first one until you get the heat correct.
So when's the last time you made latkes?
High school. So.
Talking 15, 20 years?
25 years ago.
25 years since Natasha has made a latke. Wow. Seems like old times, huh?
Yes. And
now, are you Jewish?
Well, I'm Russian, half Swiss. And on my mother's side, I think her great-grandfather was Jewish. And then on my father's side, it's a big mystery. These are very starchy potatoes. And
you were saying earlier, again, the more starch in the potato, the better.
Yes, yeah. So like a nice russet potato. And I have the grater attachment.
So my ancestry is, I believe, and I may have gotten this wrong before, my mom's side is Odessa, Russia, with Paris, and my dad's side is Hungarian.
Goodness.
But both sides all Jewish. So
you have as much of a mishmash as I do.
Yeah, we're European mutts.
I was raised Russian Orthodox, and then we converted to Catholicism, so I have some religious confusion as well. And my father's very good friends with Rabbi Cohen.
Yeah, I know Rabbi Cohen.
He's awesome.
Yeah. I had a bar mitzvah in 1984, went to my confirmation 3 years later, and I've hardly been to temple since. I'm a lapsed Jew. Bad Jew.
Well, I do some of the catering for the synagogue here, and they strike me as a very warm, very attached congregation. They do a lot with their kids.
Yep.
So I've got everything in there. The onion in there. I've heard that if you chop the onion with the potato, that it helps to oxidize the potato, keep it from turning brown. But I also put a few drops of lemon juice in my water when my potatoes were soaking. So that's another trick. And I don't know how much carrot your mom used.
You know, enough, but without killing it.
More than that?
Yeah, this is all really exciting. Latkes.
For breakfast.
For breakfast. Now, this is International Week. This is just one of the many international weeks?
Yep, every week we pick a different country and we cook the cuisine. And a lot of it is stuff we're completely unfamiliar with, and it's been a really nice connection with our customers. When we did Vietnam Week, a Vietnamese woman from town showed up and demanded to inspect my pork and helped me by giving me her own personal cookbook with, you know, annotations written in the columns and magazine clippings, and she's been helping me learn how to make pho, and she's going to show me spring rolls. And Jamaican Week, we had the wife, she was married to a Jamaican, so she knew Jamaican cooking, and she sat right in a chair right there and supervised me. And so I've had a lot of really nice connections. So anyway, we had New Orleans last week, and then because it's Purim this week, we decided to do Israel.
You gonna make hamantashen?
Yes, of course. In fact, I had a customer that brought me her mother's hamantashen recipe, and she made me some really pretty hamantashen.
Had you ever had hamantashen?
I have.
Okay.
That is one of the cookies. In fact, we make it a lot at Christmas time, but I know it's typical of Purim. And I also know Rabbi Cohen was telling me about a hamantashen latke debate or something, so I looked that up a little bit. So
you are becoming quite learned.
I'm trying to learn all of the traditions. So let me start that heating.
So we were talking about matzo balls too for matzo ball soup. Have you ever made that?
Yes, in fact.
And again, that's another thing is matzo ball soup can only really be made one way, and that's the perfect way. Anything else is just a fraud.
So my mother's Swiss, and she taught me that to make a proper soup, you have to make your own stock, although I think she cheated when we were kids because there were 7 of us. And so we made, yesterday we made a big crock pot of chicken stock, and we we let it sit overnight, and we skimmed the schmaltz off the top of the soup.
Good word, schmaltz.
Schmaltz. And the other way to make schmaltz, of course, is frying chicken skin until it renders. And then you can use those as little cracklings. So we're going to fry some onions, and that's what Christopher is going to be doing this morning. He's going to be frying some onions in that schmaltz to mix in with the matzo balls, which gives it a nice flavor, which I learned from a customer.
I'm impressed. You're doing it the right way.
Yeah. And we are making the matzo ball soup, and then we're also going to make, and my pronunciation is probably wrong, Marak Kuba Ado, which is a red Kuba soup, which has meatballs sort of in a Bulgar wheat semolina casing, so it's almost like a dumpling with a meatball inside.
Is that what you were showing me right there?
That's what I'm making right there, and I actually found something that was more tedious to make than pierogies. Who knew?
Do you make your pierogies? Yeah, that's another great thing.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of people requesting pierogies?
We make pierogies every. So I've squeezed out a lot of the water, but I've left some behind.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
We make stuffed cabbage pierogies, kapusta, which is the Ukrainian style of sauerkraut. I don't know if you grew up with that. And kielbasa we use from Henry's Market here. It's not the same as what I grew up with, but it's a local kielbasa, and we make that every single Thursday. You want to check that heat on that oil?
That's peanut oil, right?
Yeah.
The temperature is a lot higher than
What's your name?
Chris.
Have you ever had latkes?
No, I did the box tea and the roast tea before, but once I saw the picture of it, I'm like, okay, it's similar.
Yeah.
So just each, like you said, each variation. I've never had it yet. But
He made, the Swiss are fanatical about their rösti. They have entire restaurants in Switzerland with like 50 different kinds of rösti, which is their version of a potato pancake, but it doesn't have egg in it, and it's made the entire size of the frying pan, and then there's this big thing about flipping it so it doesn't break. Whereas the latkes that I grew up with, I don't know how big, they were sort of like appetizer size, so that you could have, you know, your sour cream and your applesauce on it.
Exactly.
And
What do you like better, sour cream, applesauce? Some people have mixed them, but you can only have one or the other.
I'm sweet with my savory, and I think I get that from my mother. Alright, so I'm just beating a couple of eggs and putting that in there. And that's the difference between the Swiss and the Ukrainian also use egg.
The Ukrainian use egg and the Swiss don't?
Yep. It's just the more international cuisine that we learn with in here, the more I realize there's just so many similarities. But then, of course, I try to respect everyone's traditions. Alright, so you said a third to a half a cup. So which means that's a general sort of thing, so you're doing it by eye to get a texture.
Now, how would you define matzo meal for foodies out there?
Matzo meal, so it's ground up matzo crackers, and I have a recipe to make my own matzo, but I haven't attempted it. And we use it a lot. Matt was the lead baker at Skidmore College, and he did some of the baking for the Jewish students for their holidays, and so he's used matzo meals and desserts. And
Hey Matt, did you ever make matzo brie?
I've used it with matzo meal. I mean, I never made the matzo crackers or anything.
No, he's talking about like a fried.
The fried matzah for breakfast. That's one of my favorite things.
I didn't do it. The cooks made that.
Okay. Yeah, matzo brie is a great breakfast deal during Passover. Basically fried matzah. Dip it in egg, milk, and then fry it.
See, and that's funny because I always grew up with thinking matzah was sort of bland tasting, yet there's all these wonderful things that you can do with it. So
So we're getting close here to the frying part and the finished
it feels
product.
a little wet to me. We'll
Yeah.
only know if it falls apart. Well,
Well, the part that people should remember, again, is letting the potatoes dry for a few minutes. I mean, we're sort of expediting the process here.
I expedited it. I can squeeze it one more time.
No, that's
I
fine.
squeezed it pretty well in that.
As long as
China
the ingredients are all in there, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and you had mentioned your mom's recipe uses Lowry Lowry seasoning, and I used a Swiss seasoning that's vegan that we grew up with,
Okay.
which is the same thing.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. This is just the important part in here. The potato, carrot, egg, matzo meal, onion.
And I think I did not, because we were rushing, did not squeeze it out enough, but we'll see. So I've also heard that if you flip it too many times, it gets too greasy.
Yeah, that's the
So
other
you
big
sort
thing.
of have to be patient with the frying, letting it brown nicely on the bottom before you flip it over. Usually I mess up the first couple of them before they come out right.
Smells pretty good. Smells like home.
Well, Chris is working on the schmaltz right now, and he's adding some onion into it, and we're going to use that to flavor our matzo balls, which that I didn't know about.
Well, see, that's good. The flavor, you need some flavor in matzo balls. I had some in New York City a few weeks ago. They were just the blandest things I've ever eaten. Almost walked out of that restaurant. Then I went to Mr. Broadway Deli. Had some matzo ball soup.
Excellent.
Just like Mom. So where did you get this idea for new cuisines every week?
Well, it's sort of been in the back of my head. My original dream for if I had a place, this is what I would do, because it mimics exactly how I ate when I grew up. I never knew what my father was going to have on the table, whether it was French or Swiss or Indian, or, you know, we'd come home and there'd be octopus on the table. There'd be, we grew up eating snails and artichokes, and because he spent his summers in the south of France as a child, so, and I think they pretty much eat everything. So I grew up with a very adventurous idea of food. And recently, I received a book from my brother for Christmas called Flatbreads and Flavors. And it was the most exciting, and I'm obsessed with cookbooks and baking books, but I was so excited by this book because they described, I like recipes that have stories attached to them. And they tell these stories of how they came across this food and how they tried it. And there was Middle Eastern, like a Yemeni lamb stew that sounded so amazing. And we made it in here, and the flavors were just so different from what I had grown. I grew up with so many different things that I had never tried before. And it was amazing soup.
One of the things people who watch this might want to know is Crazy Russian Girls. People come into the gallery, Fiddlehead at Four Corners Gallery, where I work, and say, hey, where should I go eat? And I'll always send them to, oh, this place or this place, or Crazy Russian Girls. Or they'll just ask, hey, what's the deal with the Crazy Russian Girls? Are they really Russian? So what is the story of Crazy Russian Girls, the name behind it, and the bakery?
Yeah, during foliage, we were all going to make T-shirts that say, yes, we're really Russian, yes, we're really crazy. Because that's the first thing people with cowboy hats walk in and say, is there really crazy Russian girls in here? Yes. So I'm the first one on both sides of the family born in this country. And for anyone that has that first generation American experience where your parents speak funny languages and dress funny and cook funny, it's not good socially. You know, we were picked on pretty bad in school, and it's just, you feel almost like you don't exactly fit into a particular culture. You're just a mishmash of different cultures, which was a really great place. But anyway, I had a friend that called me the Crazy Russian Girl because he was born in Wilmington, and had been there for generations and generations. Is that looking how your mom did it?
That's looking nice and brown and golden. And
Yeah, I think it'll be crispy on the inside too. He had grown up with generations of people in this country, and he couldn't understand simple things that I had never ridden in a truck with a snowplow before, that I had not tasted baked beans until I was in high school. You know, we weren't allowed to eat ketchup when we were growing up because it's a Swiss thing.
oh wow.
So he just, I think crazy in his book meant different, and you know, I am a true-blood American. There was no greater patriot than my babushka, who came over from Russia and risked her life and my dad's life to get here. And
What were their names?
Irene Garder, and my father is Leonid Garder. They owned a business in town, and my grandmother basically walked out of Russia during World War II, wound up in Germany. They wound up in Paris after the war, and then the
Wow.
Tolstoy Foundation brought them into America.
That's a great story.
Yeah, so you know, we grew up with this appreciation for the wonderful gifts that having freedom gives you, and an appreciation for that. But then also this generations of brainwashing. Don't throw food away. You don't know what it is to be hungry. You know, treat people the way you would want to be treated. You know, and then be strong. My babushka always had this thing about women being strong and tough. So it was a good background, but it does make me, even though I'm American, it does make me different as far as my ideas about food, my ideas about culture.
So why did you open Crazy Russian Girls Bakery, and when did you open it up?
2009.
Oh, so you're still kind of
I'm in my
baby.
third year, and honestly, I didn't think that I had the experience to open a bakery. I've baked and cooked my entire life with my parents, but that's not the same thing as knowing production. My husband is 19 years of professional experience, baking experience, so we opened the shop together. And the Better Bennington Corporation had approached me when I had a little vending cart out on Main Street selling baked goods. I was baking with my kids and selling on a vending cart. And they approached me and said, you need to open a shop. And the health inspector and I had a really good laugh because he knew I had no equipment. In fact, this is the original stove. Every year we buy professional equipment, you know, bigger mixers, bigger ovens. We started
So I can kind of see the kinship you and Jimmy have down there.
Jim Carroll.
Jim Carroll with the cart and just trying to make it, you know,
Right.
against the big box restaurants, so to speak.
Yeah, and in my case, it was being completely naive. I just wanted to do it. I loved doing it, and people were reacting so well to the taste of baked goods that were made from scratch. So that's looking pretty good.
It is.
So are you going to try these? Is this going to be the taste test?
Yeah, these are taste tests.
Okay. So I'm going to turn this off.
So 25 years later, you've just made some latkes. Recipe from LA via Russia and all the generations there. I'm very much looking forward to this.
So another global experience.
Exactly.
The schmaltz, thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting too, watching him do that for the matzo balls. I will definitely be in here for some matzo ball soup.
Well, I've been reading up on it once that customer recommended the schmaltz, and the schmaltz is rendered chicken fat, and it gives a very authentic taste to Israeli, Jewish, Middle Eastern cooking. Yeah, so.
All right, so should I just pick it up and...
Yeah, do you want a little sour cream?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I'm more of a I like applesauce on it, but I'm also a sour cream guy, so I'm very excited. Almost like I'm back in LA right now.
Chris, do you have any sour cream?
Not
I have some, I think. Oh, I got some. You have it?
How do you spell your name?
I've got some.
last name?
Your first and last name?
Christopher. So just
Yep.
the C. La Fountain. It's actually La Fontaine, French version, but I've been here so long, it's just La Fountain.
Okay. Fauntain.
Yep.
He's my son-in-law.
So it's a whole family affair.
Well, you know, originally, before I knew I was opening a bakery and I was just baking with my kids at home, I wanted somehow to incorporate my kids into, I worked a lot, and I wanted to work with my kids. So all along I've had a dream of having my kids in the business, and my daughter decorates cake for me, my son-in-law is my cook. Okay, so a little bit right on top?
Sure. Sour cream on the latkes.
All right.
Nothing like eating latkes at 8 a.m.
Sully the mouth.
Let me tell you what. Yeah, you have to eat some too. You're like, this does not sully my mouth. This is really good. This is just like my mom made.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I'm very flattered. Thank you. A little more salt, huh?
Well, that's fine.
No?
Really.
Good?
You done good.
Thank you.
So, yeah. If you made me like a couple dozen, I'd come buy them.
I could do
And I would
that.
come eat them. But I'm going to finish this one here.
Yeah.
See this potato latke? Very delicious. Crazy Russian Girls Bakery, Main Street, downtown Bennington, Vermont.
Thank you for coming and playing in our kitchen, Joey.
Thank you for having me. I'm making a latke.